March in London, cry for Gaza, but who actually suffers? They say protest is sacred, that those who cannot walk the streets of Gaza march in ours, that when you block a London road, you show your love for Palestinian blood. But I ask to you, stop. Stop this performative chaos and listen, because I've got a bone to pick. How exactly does smashing our streets and upending daily life in Britain help one child who can't breathe in Gaza? First, let's cut through the fog of righteous noise. Some people believe that every act of disruption in England is a blow against Israel, but that's fantasy dressed up as morality. Gaza is under bombardment. They live under siege. They don't need your London tantrums. They need aid corridors, medical supplies, pressure on the powers that be there, not your screaming on Whitehall. So here's my question. Why is it so compelling to disrupt here when the suffering is there? Many of these protesters will say, solidarity means sacrifice. We must make noise so the world sees. I hear you, but sacrifice doesn't require harming your own people, inconveniencing your own neighbours, or turning peaceful city life into chaos. There is a difference between brave acts and self-inflicted spectacle, whether it shuts a road or arrests 500 people, if it sends ambulances away from hospitals, if it stirs resentment among people who have nothing to do with geopolitics. You've lost the moral high ground. I believe deeply in protesting against injustice, but I also believe in effectiveness. Protest that alienates, that turns public opinion against the cause, that makes others see you as a disorder agent instead of a moral force. That is protest turned into a self-defeating performance. If your goal is to help Gaza, go to Israel, go to Palestine, march in Jerusalem if you must. Confront those systems with your body. Let hospitals be dividers. Let your feet cross ocean borders. But don't demand the people of Britain pay your symbolic tax in gridlock and headline chaos, especially when Britons are not the authors of Israeli policy. Ask yourself, when your protest clogs an artery of London, who pays? The commuter, the mother trying to get to a hospital for her child, the working person who's late, the elderly who have mobility problems. Their suffering is not collateral. It's your tool. If you think you can impose suffering on others and call it solidarity, you're turning solidarity into a weapon, not a good one. Let me be crystal. People of Gaza deserve every voice. They deserve protest, diplomacy, pressure campaigns, legal action, media blasts. But they don't deserve counterproductive street chaos in London. If you claim morality, then be moral about how your tactics affect innocent third parties. Now look, I anticipate your counterpoint. We must shout, they suffocate in silence. True. But you can amplify the suffering without destroying your own society's fabric. Use organised, strategic, lawful acts, flood parliament petitions, occupy inside halls, disrupt the funding, not the bus lanes, expose complicity in government, institutions, universities. Why cry in Trafalgar Square when you can shine light on where the money flows, where arms contracts are approved, march on the desks that sign agreements, march on the silent boardrooms, march in the halls of power, not on the everyday pavement where people live their lives? Here's the real hypocrisy I see. The same people who vow to shut down Oxford Street in protest then complain when tube services delay them. They feel empowered as protesters, but powerless as citizens. When everything in your movement is about spectacle, you lose control of your moral narrative. The cameras pick up the detritus, the chains, the smashed glass. The suffering of Gaza is drowned under your PR noise. It's even worse when the government points at your chaos and says, look how unhinged they are, see, they don't deserve freedom. That critique exists because your tactics hand them a stick. Every riot gives policing justification. Every blockaded street is fodder for bans and restraining orders. When you provoke police crackdowns, you feed the machine you claim to resist. And let's not pretend protests in London are costless. Yes, they may feel symbolic, righteous, necessary, but each one drains policing resources, distracts from other emergencies, raises tension in communities that have nothing to do with Gaza. When Muslims, Jews, migrants and British citizens are dragged into the fallout of your demonstrations, whether by spike in hate, by headlines conflating them with mobs, your protest metamorphoses from resistance into roulette. I've seen people look at disruption as sacrifice. It's not sacrifice, it's a gamble. You gamble that the public will see your message, but most of the time they see inconvenience. They see, move, this is my road, leave me out of this, and suddenly the story becomes your problem, not theirs. You shift sympathy away from Gaza to you, the performance artist. Now, I'm not saying silence, hell no, I'm saying refined action. Let your protest be surgical rather than shotgun. If your voice is moral, don't shout in neighbourhoods, stand in government plazas, hold candlelight vigils, speak in parliaments, hack the money behind war, leak those documents, lobby for UN pressure, support NGOs inside Gaza, send doctors, build hospitals, dump activism onto the roof of accountability, not the street of inconvenience. A few years ago, a group protesting against climate policies glued themselves to paintings in the National Gallery. Reason: interrupting a revered space, creating tension in elegance. That gets attention without hurting commuters. That forces a pause. That bends optics. Yet here we choose roads and chains. Why? Because it looks radical, because it photographs, because we confuse symbolic pain with actual progress. If your cause is noble, it should survive critique. If your activism is strong, it should press with discipline. If your strategy is brave, it should anticipate backlash and adjust. If it can't, it reveals it is built on performance, not conviction. Let's flip the narrative on those trying to shame Britain. You say Britain is complicit, maybe you believe it. But what's your strategy to make Britain complicit in change, not complicit in traffic jams? Don't shout at our roads, show us the contracts, show us the arms deals, show us the votes, force Parliament to debate, universities to break ties, banks to cut funding. Let the public see that the complicit ones are not the pedestrians but the policymakers. In fact, why not use London as your stage, not your battlefield? Let London amplify your message, not drown under it. Use screens, use solidarity marches, let hundreds march peacefully, cameras rolling, speeches broadcast. Let disruption be considered, but never reckless. Let your protest be courageous without cruelty to your own society. You say, they bomb children, they destroy homes, we have no choice. But you do have choices. Choices always exist, even under duress. And the moral choices are the hardest. The loudest voice is not always the strongest. Sometimes silence is complicit. But sometimes quiet resistance, surgical pressure, relentless logic builds power that spectacle can't. While you fight with megaphones, your opponents build alliances. While you block roundabouts, they rewrite laws. While you protest a minute in Trafalgar, they lobby London and Tel Aviv for years. If you really want to help Gaza, don't march here to tell us who to pity. March there to tell the oppressor they cannot hide, walk through checkpoints, speak in courts, take your cause where the decisions are made. And when you stand here in London, do so with strategy, not spectacle. Let your voice be a hammer, not a hammer thrown into your own window. I'll close with this. Anger is pure, it is a fuel, but anger without strategy is wildfire. It burns the forest you meant to light. If you love Gaza, love your own country's institutions enough not to desecrate them in its name. Don't hold London hostage to a cause happening on the other side of the world. Instead, make London a megaphone, and let the ears across the seas hear your heart, not your confusion. Let's not confuse loudness with impact. Let's not confuse chaos with change. Let us stand in solidarity, not in disruption. Let us fight injustice, not against our own people. Let our protests echo with dignity, with direction, with discipline. Because Gaza needs allies who can outlast rhetoric. And Britain needs activists who build, not break, bridges, not cities, not right, not left, just real.